They watch their co-stars fade, their names vanish from marquees, but somehow they're still here. Not just alive, but defiant, graceful, and unforgettable. These aren't just survivors of Hollywood's golden age. They're the beating heart of a bygone era, still echoing through time. And the stories they carry, some are inspiring, others are heartbreaking. All of them will leave you stunned. Eva Marie Saint, 100 years old, Eva Marie Saint didn't just star in classics. She defined them. At 100 years old, she's the oldest living Oscar winner, having stunned audiences in On the Waterfront alongside Marlon Brando. But while many actors from that era vanished with the black and white reels, Saint stayed timeless. She was elegance wrapped in strength, quietly commanding, never flashy. Her decision to take fewer roles in favor of raising her family was seen as career suicide in the 50s. Yet she returned decades later with grace, appearing in Superman Returns and narrating documentaries into her 90s. Behind the camera, she lived a love story that spanned 65 years of marriage, rare even outside of Hollywood. Eva Marie Saint didn't chase the spotlight. She let it come to her, and somehow, even now it still does. Dick Van Dyke, 98 years old, he danced on rooftops with chimney soot on his face, and decades later he danced again, white-haired and grinning, in Mary Poppins Returns. Dick Van Dyke isn't just alive, he's ageless. At 98, he's proof that joy might just be a form of rebellion. His career has stretched across 7 decades, from The Dick Van Dyke Show to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, each performance radiating warmth and comedic precision. But behind the slapstick smiles was a man who battled alcoholism, rebuilt himself, and chose happiness, publicly and proudly. Even now he still sings, he still moves, and in his rare interviews, he speaks of optimism like it's a secret superpower. Hollywood rarely gives its legends a second act. Dick Van Dyke, he's on his third and he's still not done. Some performers entertain. Van Dyke heals just by showing up, smiling, and choosing life. Rita Moreno, 92 years old. Rita Moreno didn't just break into Hollywood, she shattered its rules. One of the few stars to win an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, she wasn't supposed to succeed. The studios tried to typecast her, silence her, reduce her to background roles. But Rita fought back, with fire in her voice and elegance in her every move. Her Oscar-winning performance in West Side Story made history. But behind the curtain, she was battling racism, heartbreak, and a system that rarely saw her worth. Instead of disappearing, she evolved, returning in the 2021 remake, now as the matriarch of a film she once carried. Rita's story isn't about survival, it's about refusal. Refusing to be boxed in, refusing to be forgotten. At 92, she remains unapologetically bold, reminding everyone that true talent doesn't fade. It adapts, it endures, and sometimes it outlasts the very world that doubted it. Kim Novak, 91 years old. Kim Novak was never meant to be ordinary, but Hollywood tried to break her anyway. Crowned as Columbia Pictures' answer to Marilyn Monroe, she became an overnight sensation. Her role in Hitchcock's Vertigo turned her into an icon, but off-screen she was unraveling. The industry obsessed over her looks, yet ignored her voice. Studio heads controlled her image. Critics dismissed her talent. Eventually she walked away, not in scandal, but in silence, choosing a life of art, privacy, and healing over fame. For decades, Kim stayed out of the spotlight, quietly painting and speaking on mental health, something she once had to hide to survive. Now 91, she reemerges only on her terms, unafraid of age, expectation, or legacy. Novak didn't just leave Hollywood, she escaped it, and in doing so, she became more than a star. She became something far rarer, free. William Shatner, 93 years old. At 93, William Shatner did what no other actor has. He turned fiction into reality. Decades after commanding the Enterprise as Captain Kirk, he boarded a real rocket and became the oldest person to enter space. But even before that flight, Shatner had already lived a dozen lifetimes on screen, a pop culture titan shaped by Star Trek, reinvention, and sheer defiance of time. His cadence was mocked, then mimicked, then celebrated. He recorded albums, he did spoken word tours, he laughed at himself, and with it, reclaimed his narrative. But after touching space in 2021, he broke down. It felt like death, he said, mourning the Earth's fragility from above. It was raw, unscripted, human. Shatner has always played larger-than-life roles, but his real journey has been about coming down to earth, as a man who's still evolving, still searching, and somehow, still just getting started. Robert Wagner, 94 years old, Wagner was royalty. Smooth, sharp-suited, of an era that with charm. From Heart to the Pink Panther, his confidence made him. But Wagner's story didn't end the golden glow of fame. His elegance lies one of Hollywood's enduring mysteries, the 1981 death of Natalie Wood. Wagner was her husband, and last to see her alive. The tragedy, a long shadow over his legacy, resurfacing in headlines even decades. Yet through it all, Wagner never vanished. He continued to act, write, and occasionally appear in public, still carrying himself with that school polish. Now 94, he remains a relic of a time when Hollywood glittered and its secrets. Whether you see him a legend, a mystery, or both, one is certain. Robert Wagner never really left the stage. Shirley MacLaine, 90 years old, Shirley MacLaine never fit the Hollywood mold, and she tried to. While others she rewrote the script. With an Oscar for Terms of Endearment and a resume spanning 7 decades, MacLaine could have coasted on charm alone, but instead, she challenged everything. The roles women were given, the industry's aging bias, even the nature of existence itself. Off-screen, she spoke openly about reincarnation, soulmates, and past lives. Eye rolls from critics and loyalty from fans. Her books became bestsellers. Life became a journey, not a performance. Now 90, MacLaine lives boldly, often alone, but never lonely. She appears in films, sometimes as the wise grandmother, sometimes the wild card, unmistakably herself. In a town obsessed with youth and conformity, Shirley MacLaine made it sacred, and even now she's not fading. She's Joan Lockhart, 99 years old. Joan Lockhart wasn't the loudest star of her time, but she was the in a generation's childhood. As the nurturing mother on Lassie and later on Lost in Space, she became the face of warmth, safety, and quiet strength. Her presence was so steady, so comforting, that audiences felt like they knew her. But behind that familiar smile was a powerhouse, a woman who built a career across stage, film, and television with grace and grit. While many actresses of her era faded into obscurity, Joan adapted. She embraced science, joined new formats, and kept working well into her later. Now 99, she lives out of the spotlight, rarely seen, still cherished by fans who grew up under her gentle influence. In an industry driven by flash and scandal, Joan Lockhart's legacy is something far soft, steady, and deeply unforgettable. Joan Collins, 91 years old. Joan Collins didn't just play divas. She became the blueprint. As Alexis Carrington on Dynasty, she was fierce, fabulous, and unapologetically ruthless. But Joan wasn't acting. She was that sharp, that poised, that unstoppable. Long before her TV reign, Collins was carving her path through Hollywood's golden age, often underestimated, always underestimated, until she wasn't. Off-screen, she sparred with the press, outlasted 5 marriages, and candidly about surviving the casting couch others were afraid to. Even now at 91, she shows up in full makeup, lashes, wit sharper than ever. Old age, she wants, is another role, but she's not performing, she's commanding. Still writing, still touring, still refusing dimmer light for anyone. In a world that her to age quietly, Joan Collins lit a fire and dared everyone else to keep up. James Hong, 95 years old. James Hong isn't just part of Hollywood history, he's woven into it. With over 700 screen credits, his face is instantly recognizable, even if his name wasn't always spotlighted. For decades, Hong played every role Hollywood would offer to Asian actors. Wise monks, waiters, villains. But he never stopped, never slowed. And finally, the world caught up. At 93, he delivered a wildly praised performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, earning standing ovations and a new generation of fans. Born in 1929, Hong co-founded organizations to fight for Asian representation long before it was trending. His resilience wasn't just about staying employed, it was about staying seen. Now 95, he's celebrated as a pioneer, a powerhouse, and a living bridge between Hollywood's past and future. James Hong didn't just survive typecasting, he outlived it, then turned it inside out. Tina Louise, 90 years old. Tina Louise was more than just the movie star on Gilligan's Island. She was the last one standing. While the rest of the cast faded into nostalgia, Tina became a myth, elusive, elegant, and often misunderstood. She never quite embraced the show that made her famous, believing it boxed her in, a decision that sparked debate for decades. But looking closer, it wasn't ego, it was agency. Louise had been a rising film actress before the sitcom, starring alongside Hollywood heavyweights. She wanted drama, depth, serious roles, and she fought for them, even when it meant walking away from fame's safer path. Now 90, she lives quietly in New York, rarely seen but never forgotten. Tina Louise didn't chase fame, she wrestled with it. And in that struggle, she carved out something even rarer than stardom, a legacy with boundaries. They weren't supposed to last this long, but they did. Through reinvention, resistance, and raw talent, these legends refuse to vanish. Their stories remind us, fame fades, but legacy endures. And sometimes the most powerful act in Hollywood is simply staying alive long enough to tell your truth.